Anyways, back to what I was doing. So, since I hadn't unlocked the healer in the company building, it was just a constant back and forth from the Sylph Company to the Pokemon Center. And once I got Growlithe to level 31, I went ahead and evolved him into an Arcanine. Heading back into the building to battle more grunts, Ghastly finally evolved into a Haunter. Now, in order to get a Gengar, the final evolution in the line, we need to trade Haunter with my copy of Leaf Green. But as I said, I'm holding off on doing trade evolutions, at least for now. So I just put Haunter into the box and got Zubat out. Back into the Sylph Company, I'd battled the rest of the grunts and angry workers. I continued my meticulous raid of the building, defeating anyone and everyone I could before I even get the card key. The trainers' levels in this area are somewhere around level 25 to 30, so they do help catch Zubat up. Once again, throughout this dungeon, it was a constant back and forth from the floor I was currently on in the Pokemon Center. But after more battles in the company, Zubat finally evolved into Golbat, completing the evolution line for Zubat. At least, for now. It is back to the Pokemon Center to swap out Golbat for a different Pokemon to level up. This time, Paris. During my raid of the Sylph Company, I went ahead and used some items like proteins and carbos on my Pokemon, and I went ahead and used one of my rare candies that I found on Venus. And this was when he finally evolved into Venusaur. So after going from floor to floor, battling any trainers available, I headed on down and grabbed the card key and gave the building another go-around, unlocking every door I came across and battling any more trainers that were unavailable at the time. So, going through the building, I eventually reached the room where you fight Blue and you can get the Lapras from the scientist. So, when I saved the game, I stepped into the fight with Blue with confidence. But perhaps I was too confident. His Pidgeot is level 37, while my Pokemon were level 32. Nidoking went down after getting Pidgeot into the yellow and poisoned thanks to his ability. Next was Blue's Gyarados at level 35. I battled with Kadabra, but his Gyarados was still too strong. Next up, I sent Venus. He managed to hold out for a bit longer and took down his Gyarados. Now I just needed to take down one more Pokemon while I still have Venus saved, and I'll be ahead. Next was his Execute, to which I brought out Arcanine. He took it down with ease with just some Flame Wheels, and that left with two Pokemon left, his Alakazam and his Charizard. Since Arcanine knows Bite, I kept hammering away at Alakazam until he was taken down. And all that was left was just his Charizard. His final Pokemon. And it was the end for me, actually. A large chunk of Arcanine's health went down when he took a Future Sight attack, and Charizard finished him off with a Wing attack. I brought out Venus, but he was taken out easily. All that was left was Pidgeotto and my level 22 Paris. Another Flamethrower, and it was just up to Paris to take the hit. I revived Arcanine and brought him back out. Healing him up, I took a chance with Takedown, but Charizard's Smokescreen kept the attack from hitting. Unfortunately, his Charizard was quicker and took down my Arcanine before he can get one more takedown in. If my Arcanine managed to land the hit, I would have won the battle and have been able to take on the other Rocket Grunt outside of the President's office and then battle Giovanni himself. Now, I could have just reloaded the save like I did before and challenged him again. However, I chose not to. I felt somewhere that the result would have just been the same. I would have ended up losing again to Blue, and it would have just been trying to force my way through. So, I got back to grinding. I stepped out onto the routes and used the Versus Seeker to battle trainers once again. Not only that, but I also went ahead and battled the trainers alongside Route 12, taking on the fishermen and such. I went back to the Daycare Man to see how many levels Dratini gained, and on my way back to Route 12, I used the Versus Seeker out on Route 8, in the area where there are 4 trainers in a line and the double battle girls off to the side. So there's, at most, 5 battles you can do in order to catch your team up and grind. But I did this so that I could get Paris that final level out, and when it did, it evolved into Parasect. I ran back to the Pokemon Center to switch Parasect out for another Pokemon, In this case, since she only needed one more level, I took Miss Nita with me. After Miss Nita evolved into Nidorina, I went ahead and used another Moonstone to evolve her into a Nidoqueen, just to complete the entries into the Dex. I swapped Miss Nito out for a Meowth this time. Back on Route 12, I continued battling the trainers. As I continued down, I came across the fishing guru who gives you a super rod, which is the best version of the rod to try and catch new Pokemon. I gave it a try, and the first Pokemon I came across is... a Gyarados. Well, I already have one, so I kept trying and soon found a Horsey. I kept fishing on the waters, just hoping to find some other Pokemon I haven't found yet, but when I realized that it was going to be more Horsey, I just kept battling the trainers. Trainer after trainer, continuing to defeat Pokemon after Pokemon, I reached the final stretch from this route that would lead to Fuchsia City, Route 15. I went to the grass to go and heal my Pokemon without going to another battle, and when I went through the grass, I came across a Gloom, the middle evolution in the Oddish line. Catching it, I hurry and head to Fuchsia and get my Pokemon healed up. Additionally, since I have a Leaf Stone, I went ahead and evolved Gloom into a Vileplume. So with that evolution taken care of, I went out to Route 15 and battled more trainers. Eventually, Meowth finally evolved into a Persian. I set out onto Route 15 again, this time with Diglett holding the experience share so that I could get it leveled up and evolved. I had one difficult battle with a trainer that had a Clefairy. With a mixture of Defense Curl and Minimize, it was able to pull off metronome attacks and hit a lot of my Pokemon. It got to a point where I couldn't attack at all, and the only way I won was when it used metronome, and the attack it got was self-destruct. A little frustrating. Heading north past the trio of bikers, I entered the patch of grass, and to my surprise, I encountered a Ditto. Once again, I normally find this Pokemon out in Pokemon Mansion, in the basement where you get the secret key, but being able to catch it here, it helps complete another page in the Dex. And it's a Pokemon helpful with a business I need to get to on 4 Island. After battling every trainer on the right side of the Kanto region, I made my way over to the top of Cycling Road in order to battle the other trainers that were there. Battling some of the trainers on Cycling Road, Diglett finally evolved into a Dugtrio. The next Pokemon I brought along after that was Ekans. Sure enough, going through any other trainers left on Cycling Road, Ekans evolved into Arbok. So when I battled every trainers I could, save for the few trainers down below Fuchsia City, the swimmers, and the bird trainers at the end of Cycling Road, I had gotten my team up to level 5, and I still had Venonat to level up and evolve. I headed back to Route 5 to the daycare man and picked up Dratini. There, I had left Horsey with him to get it leveled up. I brought Venonat along to finish up the evolution needed and went down Cycling Road, just to make sure I battled every trainer. Additionally, I took the time to go through the current TMs I have and use them on some of my Pokemon. I gave Kadabra Shockwave and gave Nidoking Rock Tomb and Brick Break. The next trainers I ended up battling were the 3 bird trainers that were outside of Fuchsia. When I battled them, I ran around in the patch of grass for any new Pokemon. I actually needed to catch a Spearow for another in-game trade that I could have done earlier. Additionally, to Spearow, I caught a Venonat for another in-game trade. I headed back to Vermilion for the trade. That trade in question was actually to get a Farfetch'd, a Pokemon you can't find in either version of the games. After that trade, it was time to take on the fighting gym next to Sabrina's. They all specialize in fighting types. Big shocker, right? So just go in with a flying, a psychic, or a poison type and you'll be in the clear. A few battles and a back and forth trip to the Pokemon Center, and I managed to defeat the Black Belt, earning me a choice of which of the 2 Hitmon Pokemon I can gain. Not only did defeating the Black Belt earn me a choice of the Pokemon, but Pidgeotto finally evolved into Pidgeot. Anyways, since I have Hitmonlee in the other game, I went with Hitmonchan this time around. I went down towards the beach of Fuchsia to battle the swimmers, finishing up any of the on-land trainers I could battle. And with all of the available trainers defeated, I actually went ahead and battled the trainers inside Koga's gym, and even battled Koga as well. You see, here's an interesting tidbit some people might not know, but in the order of gyms you have to beat, after you finish off Erica, you were originally intended to go and fight Koga next, and not Sabrina. Additionally, like I previously mentioned, you could also surf all the way to Cinnabar Island and try to take on Blaine, and still have yet to fight Sabrina. Anyways, back to the gym. Koga's gym is filled with invisible walls. In the original Gen 1 games, you are actually able to see the blocks that bar you from reaching the gym leader, but this time around they're not actually there. So you'll have to go through the gym, finding any opening you can, and just continuously bumping against the walls. The path in this is the same as Gen 1, a sort of counterclockwise spiral to the middle. So after battling every trainer in the gym, I go and take on Koga. Koga's main Pokemon type is Poison type, so a Psychic type Pokemon will be your MVP. You could also use Ground type, but he has 2 Coughings, a Wheezing, and 1 Muck. So while Ground types are good against Poison, you won't be able to hit either Coughing or Wheezing because of its Levitate ability. And so, after defeating Koga, I obtained the Soul Badge, and fittingly enough, the Venonat evolved into a Venomoth. Getting back to the Pokemon Center, I put Venomoth back into the PC. To take their place, I brought Dratini along. At this point in the adventure, I feel like it's best to bring Dratini along, because if I want to complete the Dex, I'll need to evolve Dragonair into a Dragonite, and Dragonair doesn't evolve until level 55, so he's going to be a permanent member of the team. So once again, I make my way back to Saffron City, passing through Vermilion City, and as I pass through Route 11, I actually encountered a Drowsy. So that's another Pokemon I needed to find in order to complete the Dex. Anyways, with my team as close to level 40 as I could, I headed back to Silphco. I have some unfinished business. This time around, in my rematch against Blue, my Nidoking took care of his Pidgeot. Next, Blue sent out Execute. Arcanine took him down with ease. When he sent out Alakazam, I kept Arcanine out so that it could use Bite. Blue's next Pokemon was Gyarados, and looking over this, I realized that I had made a good move. His Alakazam used Future Sight, which will send a Psychic attack after 4 turns, so whichever Pokemon I brought out, it was going to take the attack. So Kadabra was the best choice, since it won't take as much damage from Future Sight, and I had him learn Shockwave, an electric type attack. The only thing that took him down was taking the Future Sight attack and Gyarados' Dragon Rage. I brought out Pidgeot to take out his Gyarados, and finally we were left with his Charizard, to which I brought Nidoking back out. He managed to survive a flamethrower, but got burned in the process. I managed to pull off a Rock Tomb, which also slowed down his Charizard, but the burn effect took him out, so I brought out Pidgeot again to take some hits while I pondered on who to use. A couple of flamethrowers later and Pidgeot was down. I couldn't use Venus as he was weak to fire, Dratini was still being leveled up, Nidoking, Kadabra, and Pidgeot was down, so there was only one other Pokemon to use. It was a group effort. If it wasn't for Pidgeot landing some hits with Wing Attack and Nidoking's Rock Tomb, then Arcanine would have probably gotten hit and been knocked out. So, as a reward for my effort in defeating Blue, I got the Lapras from the scientists in the same room. Now, Lapras is another Pokemon that I wanted to add to my team, so I would have to go and put one of my Pokemon into the PC. Not only would I need Lapras to get from one place to the other, but I'd need her to carry me towards some places on the Sevi Islands. Anyways, I battled the Rocket Grunt outside the office, healed up, and headed back to take on Giovanni yet again. Nidoking vs Nidorino. A bit of a lengthy fight, since neither Pokemon knew a super effective move, but I managed to get his Nidorino taken out. Next was Nidoking vs Kangaskhan. Giovanni's Kangaskhan almost got Nidoking knocked out, but he held on. Next, it was Venus vs Rhyhorn. One Razor Leaf and it was down. Next up, Kadabra vs Nidoqueen. A couple of Psychics and Nidoqueen was down, though Kadabra did get poisoned in the process. And with that, the battle was over. Dratini got enough experience to finally evolve into Dragonair. Having defeated the leader of Team Rocket yet again, I got the Master Ball from the President, and I then noticed you can actually use the PC in his office to access your box or your items. So, that's interesting. So healing up my Pokemon, I was prepared to go and take on Sabrina, but there was something that I wanted to do. I made my way over to Lavender Town and went to the Name Rater. The Name Rater is a character who will rate the names of your Pokemon and will give you the chance to give them another nickname. I chose there that I would nickname Arcanine Howlet.